Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to Colin from Noble Gold Investments, who is here to talk about all things gold and all things Noble Gold. But before we get into all of that, which you can find linked in the description box below, he's going to tell us an incredible story about the SS Central America and its legendary lost treasure. And not just tell us about it, but show it, because Colin, you've got one of these coins, and it's an incredible story. Tell us more.
We have more images, but just to give you an idea, I have it here, and it's a really fascinating coin. I wish everyone could hold it and see it for themselves, because every time I show this coin to somebody, they can't believe that this was at the bottom of the ocean from 1857 to the early 2000s.
I know, right? But this is the thing about gold. It's eternal. It lasts forever.
Right,
It's
right.
one of the most inert metals on the planet, and it can sit at the bottom of the sea for 150 years.
Yeah, yeah, and gold luckily it doesn't really react to salt water.
Yeah.
And most of them were in these tubes and these like wooden shipping boxes. And so they were protected even though they were at the bottom of the ocean. And the whole story behind the shipwreck, what it did, who, the guy that found it, what happened to him. I mean, this
Yeah.
is like a classic
It's
story
it's a proper treasure hunting story.
it is. Yeah, yeah. So the SS Central America, the ship of gold, and there's books about this, but it sank in a hurricane off the Carolina coast, October 3rd, 1857.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's one of the deadliest shipwrecks of all time. 430 people died.
Gosh.
So it was a terrible disaster. And it was carrying all these people and also these freshly minted California gold coins.
Yeah, because we're at the height of the California gold rush here, aren't we? In the
Correct.
1850s, and that's staggering. Do you know what the value of the gold, either at the time or now equivalent, would have been?
So I can tell you actually, I don't know the total value of all the gold at that time.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that, so this is a $5 gold piece that I have, and this is from 1855. So it's like a time capsule.
Yeah.
At the bottom, it has gold dust, and this is the certificate of authenticity on the right. And then I also have a certificate of authenticity here. But the value of $5, okay, just to give you an idea of inflation,
well,
the value of $5 in 1855 is $191.93 today.
Wow.
Just to kind of, to put that in perspective. So, obviously the dollar's lost a pretty considerable amount of value.
Is putting it conservatively there, I think. So
yeah.
The mind boggles then. This is why it's such a fascinating treasure story, isn't it? Because in modern day terms, I mean, even I believe from our notes that, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but it was recovered first in the late 80s, and then obviously you look at where gold is from even then to today, and where inflation was from the late 80s to today. In many ways, it just speaks to the value of currency versus gold and why it's so important to have gold over a long period of time. And it's crazy.
Yeah, the wreck was first located in 1987. And then they did another run because they didn't get all the coins the first time. And this was the shipwreck recovery was not an easy one. They had to raise.
I read it's deeper. It was deeper than the Titanic.
It was deeper than the Titanic, and it was, one of those things where a lot of people wanted to do it, but they had to build a robot to go down because humans can't go down there. Tommy Thompson was the ocean engineer, and they had to come up with this specific technology to get down there and pull these coins out of the shipwreck. also, before we dive too much into that too, this did destroy the markets.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
called the Panic of 1857, was because there was so much value that went down. The markets
Gosh.
crashed. So it did send shockwaves through the markets. But yeah, Tommy Thompson, he raised about $12.5 million from 161 private investors, and that was to build the technology to get
Get
down
down
there.
there. I mean, that seems like small fry, I would imagine, to a what would be recovered in modern day terms of financial value. So
Yeah.
pretty incredible. And of course, these kind of coins, they don't just have their gold value. There are also quite unique coins down there from the San Francisco Mint, presumably. So
Yes.
you've got obviously got the one amazing coin there you said, but there's also the Liberty Double Eagle Special, the 1857S, that I've been told about in our notes. What's so special about that one, and any other coins that were down there on this wreck that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I mean that the double eagle is the most iconic US coin,
Yeah.
ever made. And that was the $20 gold piece that people used for until, 1933. We used that. We had money in circulation, and it's just a coin that's deemed to be one of the most beautiful coins ever created. It's a coin that everybody knew about. It's a coin that everybody used.
Yeah.
So there was, a good amount of those coins down there at the bottom, and they were able to pull a good amount up, and it's deep. I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
about 1.4 miles down. So this was very far down there, and they were able to find, a good amount. That first recovery in the late 80s only recovered about 5%. One fascinating part was, and I have sold a gold bar from this hoard. I didn't sell this one, but one gold bar sold. It's 80 pounds,
Okay.
and it's nicknamed the Eureka, and it's sold for $8 million.
Wow.
Um, so
And you said, and so you guys, you've sold that bar in the past.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I've sold a
Oh,
gold
a bar,
bar,
but not the big one, not that one. Okay.
not the no, not the big one. I wish I did, but
No. Wow.
we have sold gold bars. We sold a number of these other shipwreck coins, and then this one is mine
Yeah.
that I'm showing you today because I was selling it a lot, and then I thought to myself, well, I should have one for myself.
Oh, 100%.
So so I bought it, but it's the whole idea of this is pretty interesting. You had the investors invest to find the gold.
Yeah.
So you have all these investors do it. Then they find it, and then guess who jumps in? The insurance companies, right?
I read in the notes here that happens. So that's hilarious that 150 years later they can go, hang on, there's a couple of $100 million up for grabs here. That's mine. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
because I'm sure they had an insurance policy on the ship
Yeah.
at the time. Plus, sometimes you have shipwrecks where the country that's closest, or I've seen situations where, like, if it was a Spanish ship, for instance, Spain will sue
Yeah.
and say that we lost this a few hundred years ago. We have entitlement to it.
Yeah.
There luckily is a law that's called the law of fines, which
Okay.
sort of rules that the fining party is the one that gets the majority of it.
So I'll tell you an interesting fact about the UK whilst we're here on treasure
Okay.
finds.
Oh, I know this.
Because if we're out in a field and we come across a hoard of old Roman gold coins, which by the way is hilarious, there are a lot more of those than you'd imagine because the Romans near the end, they were like, oh God, the world's coming to an end, let's bury our gold. So it does happen. If you find that under I think it's called the Treasure Act here in the UK, you have to declare it. And if you don't declare it and you just pocket it and sell it and do whatever, you go to prison. And there have been people who have gone to prison for this. And ultimately what ends up happening is that you send the coins off to the museum, the British Museum. They check them and they value them, and then they either requisition them for their own museum or another museum somewhere, or it just ends up in a museum's vault. And if you're very lucky, you might get 50% of the value of the gold. but it's the value as determined by the museum. So you have no control over it. You have no anything, and it's
Yeah, because I mean, the
pretty crazy.
UK, from the crown jewels to what the royal family owns, they're definitely struggling for gold.
Oh
So it
yeah.
makes sense that they
Oh,
would.
they knew when they wrote that act. They were like, "It's all ours. You can't have it."
Oh, yeah, and I've heard of those stories
Yeah,
happening. I mean, it's atrocious. So I guess the moral of the story is like keep your mouth shut, right?
for
Don't say
sure.
anything.
But unfortunately,
But
that but this is part of the problem with the modern world that we're in now. How can anyone ever keep that really quiet? And unless you're
true.
meeting a guy in a trench coat down in the local pub or bar or whatever and selling the gold for cash, it's really
Yeah.
difficult.
Well,
Um,
I don't know how much you've done on the 1933 gold coins that were stolen. I don't know if you've done
oh
any
no,
stories on
no,
that.
maybe
We
that's a
should
video
next
for another
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, we should do that because that's kind of what happened.
Uh huh.
Because when the US said we're going to go off the gold standard, they were already minting coins. So
Yeah.
what was supposed to happen is they were supposed to melt all the coins from 1933, but they didn't.
Right.
And
Well,
some of them
I
got
think
out.
I've heard one of those coins is literally one of the rarest coins in the world, isn't it?
Correct.
And
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we should dive into that on
couple of
another
million
show because
dollars
it's
for just
pretty.
one. Yeah, yeah. No, I think I
Yeah,
have
because
heard the
it's
story about that super coin at there, but yeah,
yeah, and there were some princes that owned some. They think like maybe a half a dozen got out.
yeah,
But anyways, we can dive into that on another day. But to go along with your fugitive and the law, Thompson, the one that found it,
yes,
he in essence decided that he turned in some of the gold. Some of the investors weren't getting their money. The
uh huh,
crew weren't getting their money, and he got sued
yeah.
by investors and the crew. And they had a court date in 2012. And guess what? Tommy
He just
decided to run
didn't
from the
come along.
law, and he started to take off. And I just all the visual images of him running with his gold coins.
Amazing.
And
And so
they try.
I read here in the notes that he was actually jailed for this as well at some
Oh
point.
yeah,
So he was
yeah, yeah, for a
they caught
while.
up to him
Yeah,
and jailed.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. He went to jail. Um, he did not want to disclose where he had these 500 gold coins, and he had fines. I mean, all these things happened, but yeah, he basically did not want to turn in any of these extra coins to the people that invested, and he ended up serving jail time for this.
That's well. I was going to say
Um,
that's amazing. As a story, that's amazing. Of course, as a bigger picture, it's not necessarily that amazing for the investors and everything.
yeah,
But um, I mean, but it shows, I think, this long held view that gold, especially gold, we can put silver in there as well to a certain extent, but gold is like this. It's this green-eyed thing that people want. They have this envy for it. It's I think I've used this phrase before. It's the thing that empires and nations and history is built upon. And
mhm.
there's something that happens within us when we I don't know. Everyone's got a number, haven't they? If you were sat in front of $10 million worth of gold, could you see a point where you wouldn't just walk out the room with it all, or is it 100 million? Or at
Yeah,
some point, everyone will break on this side of things. And some of the greatest stories have been told, like the gold stories in the movies and the like. It's just amazing. So
yeah.
why do you think that is? What's the lure for gold? How do people, or why do you think people are so interested in not just these shipwreck coins, but just gold generally?
Yeah, I mean, there's so few things in the world that can last this long.
Yeah,
Like the idea that this went down in 1857 and looks like this,
yeah,
right? I mean, and there's gold coins that are, 1,000 years old or longer. The idea that that will live on and live past us, I think it's partly there's so few things left in terms of legacy that just stay around with the digital world, and
oh yeah,
people not living in the same place anymore. There's just not things that get passed down from generation to generation that have value.
yeah,
Also, I think that as all these hobbies of cards and Pokemon and all these things come and go, and shoes,
Hmm.
became a hot thing. At the end of the day, I always think about when I first got into gold is it is a hobby. People, you go to a coin show, and there's people with they have thousands of coins, and they're hoarding them, but there's so few hobbies that actually it's pretty much guaranteed, as long as you buy it right, it's going to go up,
Yeah.
right? Because the
Yeah.
gold and silver value, the actual base of it is going to go up over
And
time.
I think it's important we do just state that that's not investment advice. That's just facts of gold and inflation over time.
Yeah.
And like you say, I think when you're investing in gold, I've said this for 10 years on my channel, so I don't have any qualms saying it. You don't just buy it for a quick turnaround profit. And
Right.
yes, there have been volatility in the market recently in the last year, but ultimately, if you buy the stuff, squirrel it away in a drawer somewhere, or maybe not in a drawer if it's a lot of gold, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's gonna do what it does. Gold always does what it does for inflation hedges, for preserving buying power over time, and that's a really
Yeah.
important part of financial sort of literacy that people don't get. And it's interesting that you talk about Pokemon cards and fads. I do see a big kind of fall off in almost, I would call it like attention span for investments these days. People want the next Bitcoin or the next thing that's going to make
Mhm.
them double, triple, quadruple their money in just a few weeks' time. And we saw a bit of that in the world when gold and silver started going up so much at the end of last year. People were like, here we go. This is the thing. I'm going to buy all my stuff in gold. And they didn't long-term plan it. They didn't think about the long term. And
Agreed.
now
Yeah.
people
Agreed. Yeah.
are stuck with gold that they've potentially paid too much for, but it's not that they've paid too much for it. It's just that they're not ready. They're not at the right point to sell it. So
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing is, I'm mostly a bullion buyer,
yeah,
because that's what I think is the safest. I'm a
yeah,
very conservative um, investor, but if you look at, I think a study just came out the other day talking about in the US, like um, people that are 20 to 40 are spending more money on gambling, Pokemon, shoes than they are on traditional
yeah,
investments.
yeah. It's I'm
That's where we're at
I'm
kind
with
of in
you,
the world.
and I see it almost every day. Sometimes on my comments on various different videos that I've done in the past, or new
Yeah.
ones where people, they're disillusioned with the returns that they get on gold or silver because it's not fast enough, or it's not
Hmm.
doing what they wanted it to do originally, or perhaps they've just been missold something from it could be other content creators, or it could just be general media that's out there, because ultimately at the end of the day, if a business is trying to sell you something, they're going to present the best side of every angle to sell it to you. And if a bullion company wants to sell you a boatload of very expensive collectible items, sometimes that they'll just say that they're the best things that people can ever buy, and that's not always necessarily
Yeah.
right for each
It,
person, and it varies. And sometimes collections are really important and are a
yeah.
bridge to getting into things like that, but everything in moderation is really important.
Yeah, I look at gold buying in three ways. I look at bullion, which is anything that's minted in mass supply, which you should get relatively close to the spot price,
Yeah,
and that should be the majority. Then there's, I would say, like fun numismatics,
yeah,
which still can be very close to the spot price. Like
yeah,
I didn't bring it today, but like I have a good amount of St. Gaudens. Like one of my favorite coins is I think what we're going to talk about it is the No Motto
mm-hmm.
1907 coins, but like those are pretty close to the spot price, and it's from 1907,
Yeah,
and it's in amazing condition, and
I
it's
agree.
gold,
And
and it's
you just
so
look at
those are my
what I've got here.
yeah.
I've got a whole array of old numismatics here. I've got some old sovereigns. I've even got a few bits of US gold. And these are,
Yeah.
like you say, they're in that category where I could just be boring and just stick to the regular bullion that we buy here in the UK for
Right.
tax reasons, or I could just enjoy the collections and the hobbies. And I've said a number of times that it's not a problem to buy stuff with premium, because ultimately, if you buy something that you enjoy, that you learn about, makes you feel a little bit better about yourself, that's going to have an impact on the rest of your life, on the rest of the things that you're doing. And that makes you, I think, a little bit more of a fulfilled and better person, which helps grow all of your other parts of the life. And that's a really important thing. And ultimately, there's only so many like silver and gold eagles that one can stack before getting fed up and bored of it. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yes, and then so there's bullion, then there's like your fun numismatics, which are still relatively close, to the spot, and then there's actually stuff that's rare that you're going to pay more for. Like, and I'm not even selling anybody this coin, but like, there's only 7,500 coins that were recovered from the shipwreck.
Sure.
This one is from the 2014. So this was in the 2014 recovery.
Okay.
And there's only 3,129 that come up from this.
Yeah.
That's legitimately a small amount.
Yeah.
What I hear sometimes people tell me is like, this has a rarity, and there's a million. If there's a million, it's not that. It's somewhat rare, I guess. But if there's a million out there in circulation, you're buying it for fun more. Whereas, like the 1933, if you had one of those coins, I think the last time it sold was 18 million or 20 million. There is a whole category of actual rare coins.
Yeah.
There was a Kellogg minted gold coin that I held from the mid 1850s. It was a private mint. That was $1 million coin.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of the three categories that I think about. But, for this coin, for the ship of gold, I think these are really cool because not only is it a story that has so many elements to it, from the guy that found them going to jail, from the insurance company trying to get involved, from the multiple times they had to go down and get more gold coins, but they had a legitimate person do this certificate of authenticity.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And there's a limited supply of them out there. But every time I hold this coin, every time I give this to somebody, they love this idea of owning something that was at the bottom of the ocean for that long and looks this good. I mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, you can clearly see the number on here. You can clearly see everything that you need to see on this coin. And it's exciting. When I show this to my kids, I have 3 kids. I have twins that are 7.5, and my oldest is going to be 10.
Wow, okay.
They can't even comprehend 1855.
No.
That idea of how long ago this was a part of the world. I mean, people were walking around with this $5 gold piece. I mean, this $5 gold piece was worth almost $200. This is a lot of money.
That is,
back then. And so it's funny because I bought this a few years back and I have never took the tag. I paid $4,000 for it. I don't know what I actually don't even know what it's worth today. I haven't looked it up in a while. I just,
I think that's
like I'm sure you buy stuff and you put it away. You don't even think about
100%. And especially on the premium stuff, I think if you're in that world of buying, I've got a lot of like special proof coins and some older coins as well, which are definitely not in the category of bullion or that fun collecting. And you don't worry about it. For me, it's just at this point in my life, I'm building a diverse collection of coins, and ultimately those ones are just going to be potentially even for my kids to worry about in 30 years time, and that's the goal. It's not really, and also they're nice, and I like to think about the history of them and the provenance that some of them have as well, and that's, I think, a nice thing for me. But like you say, the majority of a gold investment for me is about bullion, is about long-term wealth preservation and the sort of the hedge against inflation. So that might be a good point to sort of bring us on to what Noble Gold Investments has to offer in that side, because now this is going to be a little bit of a stretch for some of our UK viewers who watch this, because in the UK we have things called SIPs, so self-invested pension pots, and ISAs, which are basically tax-free earnings accounts, or tax-free investments accounts, I should say. And for what I understand, there are similar things in America, but I am anywhere qualified to even talk about what different retirement accounts there are or tax advantage savings accounts. So that's your job, Colin. What can Noble Gold
offer? I was curious, can you put gold in your retirement in the UK?
There are some that you can. Well, first of all, if you've got access to a stock and share market, so it's in stocks and shares, ISA, or within your self-invested pension, you can buy ETFs for gold. You can buy any of those tracker funds that do it. But in terms of
but
having
not the
physical
physical
stuff, from what I understand, there are a very, very few limited number of companies, the sort of LBMA affiliated companies, that you can do that. But it's very much that you have to have it stored with them. You can't ever take delivery of it because there are certain rules about taking money out of those accounts that are very complex and hard to explain. But so, for example, here in the UK, whenever you take something out of a pension, you have to pay income tax on it to a certain point. So it's like if you just took delivery of a whole bunch of gold, like we said, who's going to say you don't just go and sell it to somebody down at the pub? And then how do you account for the tax? So it's very highly regulated. But
okay,
you can invest
that
in
makes
gold.
sense.
You can invest in gold in those accounts, but more on a sort of digital front rather than physically having the stuff. So
Yeah, the UK and the US have different, thought processes about investing, retirement, because you guys have your pension,
yeah,
and it's a little bit more, I would say, there's some security there, um, that is just the way that your government is and how people can get, they have a little bit more of a guarantee. Whereas in the US, there's not much of that. We used to have pensions. Some companies had them. It's if you have a pension, there's very few places that have it. Maybe if you're like a firefighter or a policeman. But for the majority of Americans, it's the IRA.
yeah,
And it's a self-directed IRA, which is what is eligible for. So what happened was in the early 1980s, when we went through like really high inflation, Ronald Reagan was in office, and people were pushing towards some different investment options in their IRA. So they started to allow gold in 1987 to be put into an IRA. We also started minting gold at that same time. We weren't actually minting gold for a long time, and we hadn't minted anything for gold since 1933. So Reagan pushed to have gold in the IRA, and so they created these rules behind it. And the IRA and the 401k were new, actually. And so it was a way to diversify. And then I think from 1987 until about 2001, people forgot about it, frankly. I don't think it was a big thing. And then when the government started sort of printing money again in 2001, and after 9/11, we dropped rates to zero, and gold went on a historic run from 2001 to 2011. It became more of an option. And there's definitely a theme in there. If you look at the US, it's from 2001 to 2011, we cut rates, we put a lot of money out there. Obviously 2008-9, we had the housing crisis. And then all the way till 2011, we sort of put a pause on this unbelievable, spending. We went through two wars after 9/11. We were spending money, and gold and silver pulled back from 2011 until 2019 because things were sort of in check. Inflation was below our number of 2%. And the gold is flat. 2019 hits, starts to pick up a bit. COVID, print money, spend. 2020 gold goes up. And then, things happen. And so I started the business in 2009.
You've just talked through the last 20 years or 25 years as if like, in a click of the fingers, it's gone. But you just think about how much the world has been through in this last 25 years. It's crazy,
you're right. I guess I a little glossed over.
No, I know that's not to critique your storytelling of it. But you just put into perspective about how crazy the world is.
Oh yeah,
like, it's mad. And
and it's and I have a good background because I was in commercial real estate until end of 2008. The market collapsed. And then I got into precious metals. So I was in that one market that sort of like dissipated, got into gold, and then I've been in the gold business since 2008, 2009. So 17 years that I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And to see what I've been, I know your show's been around for 10 years, so you've seen a lot in 10 years of kind of what the market's done and how it's changed, and pricing of gold and bullion and just kind of all the changes that has happened. And I think it's really changing a lot right now. You're just seeing a big shift where people are just really focusing on getting back into gold and silver. Has become a priority. A lot of people are taking possession. They want to own it.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's this, I think, new discovery again. People are waking up again on numismatic coins and interesting coins. I think it's becoming more interesting because people have a general distrust of kind of the paper and all these digital currencies. And so I think there's this excitement about owning something in your hands.
And like you say, there's something owning in your hands. It's real. You can touch it. You can actually understand the history of it and the reason. And as I said earlier in the video, you get this sort of green-eyed monster that comes in when you start to, if you even on a modest budget over a couple of years, you can accumulate a decent amount of gold that ultimately just sits there, and you go, wow, look what I've achieved. And that's real money that's doing something for me every day. So.
Yeah. And so what we've been doing with Noble Gold is we do bullion, which we can ship to you, small amount of numismatics, which, we talk about.
Yeah.
And mostly the reason that we don't do a huge amount of numismatics is there's not that many that me as the owner feel like is, if there's a coin that's thousands and thousands of dollars over the spot price, as someone that's pragmatic and conservative, I'm always worried that you as the buyer are not going to get the return. So I don't really, this isn't, I don't, as much as I love these and I buy these for myself, I am more conservative to people out there,
And that's a really important thing, because there are a lot of companies that will do that to people with no regard for what their ultimate goal is. And people's lives change, situations change, and unfortunately the nature of the world of gold and silver is if you have a very, very collectible coin with a high premium on it, but you need that money right now today, and you go into a coin shop, you're not getting more than melt for it. And you might get a little bit more if the coin shop has a heart and a soul and they understand the coin and what it really is. But generally speaking, people will lose out on that. So owning those kind of coins are a responsibility. You do have to have that exit strategy in place, understand the exit strategies, what the different things will be, and understand as well that can't form part of your safety net. That's a luxury. That's like owning a house. You don't just go and sell your house to a guy down the street, in a coin shop. You have to take the time to find the right buyer for those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the way that we built this company was focusing on, direct delivery, home, bullion, having a two-way street where people can liquidate, and obviously doing the IRA. And the reason is, it's a good example of sort of what I was talking about, that timeline is people have been buying gold from us I started Noble Gold in 2016. I worked for somebody else before that, but I've had a lot of people buy gold from me when it was 1,300 or 1,400 or 1,500. I had a lot of people buy silver from me when it was $13 or 14 or 15 or 18 or 20. And for anyone that's watched this, they've seen the price go up, and the reason that it's nice to have the IRA option is like what transpired is that we had people, our biggest liquidations ever in my company's history was November, December, and then January was the peak.
Yeah.
We had the most liquidations, and a lot of those people in IRAs sold, and they were able to keep the money in the IRA and not pay tax.
Yes.
So that's the
capital gains tax, presumably.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So
and that's a big thing. So to put in context for us in the UK, if we buy coins like sovereigns or coins minted by the Royal Mint, they're actually completely capital gains tax exempt for us. Which is fantastic. Great. It's great, but that's not the case with you guys in the US.
No.
And so, for example, my coins, if and when I come to sell this coin here, I think I wrote it down somewhere on a capsule that I've taken it out of, but I think I paid maybe, I think it's about £1,200 for that, so $1,500. There's a big gain on this coin that I'm sitting on, and that's a huge consideration for me. And nobody likes paying tax.
Of course.
Nobody wants to, especially when Oh, here in the UK, it's looking likely that our tax rates are going to go up even higher for capital gains. So to have something in a tax advantage account
Yeah.
is like a no-brainer from my perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's so that's the benefit with the IRA. And we do all the paperwork and we
yeah,
do all the work and we've done almost $3 billion since 2016 in
crikey,
IRAs.
yeah,
So we've done a lot. Part of that is like today's value. So we didn't
yeah.
sell that much.
No, of course not.
It's gone up,
Yeah,
right? Over that time. And so, one of the great joys for me is like when, and I have, dozens and dozens of stories of clients from January of this year that sent me notes that were like, I tripled or quadrupled and I got out and I went into cash
hmm
and they were able to do it tax free. So that's the big benefit of the IRA. And also in the US, and this is sort of the normal, is I do think most people have multiple retirement accounts.
yeah,
And when
sure,
you get a new job, they don't have the ability to put you into gold in your 401k. They
yeah,
just don't offer it.
yeah,
So I always say, like, if you want it, the nice thing is you can get that diversification.
hmm
So you got the 401k with your new job, and then you got this old one. Put the old one in gold or silver,
yeah.
so you have both there.
100%. And it's about building a diversified portfolio at the end of the day.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
I think we should countenance by saying you saw obviously the huge returns and peaks for people in November, December, January. That's not like how normal. That's not normal for gold. That was an outlier event of a construct of all the different geopolitical things in the world going on. But long term, another time will come when that price will go up again, and it's just inevitable.
Yeah.
But having it just as that background wealth preservation tool is amazing. And I've said this on the channel before. If you think about having £100,000 or $100,000 in your savings or pension or whatever it is, you buy 100,000 stuff today with that money. In 20 years' time, if you don't invest it right or don't have gold, that's going to be worth a lot less and you won't have the
Yeah.
buying power. So it's about transporting that wealth through time, which is so important. And when you compound that with the tax benefits that come along with it from from the IRAs, it's really important. And people, I think, like you said, they're very focused on the here and now right now, and a lot of people don't think about the future, which can be a bit
Yeah. It's good.
difficult.
To be, and also just an asset. I think
Mm.
the problem today in the US and a lot of places, I think, is that there's not a lot of assets you can own by yourself.
hmm
And there's not a lot of assets that you could buy because the typical thing that people bought for years and years was real estate.
Yeah.
But real estate is not affordable today
Oh,
for
it's
for
really not. I worry for my kids going into the future of how
yeah.
what's that's going to look like for them. It's scary. Um, I've also said on the channel a number of times that every time you buy a little gold coin, you got to think of it almost like buying a little house or a little part of the house. You buy a brick or two here and there, because ultimately it is an asset that over a period of time will usually perform as well as or better than real estate will. It depends
Yeah.
on where and how you measure, but generally speaking, three tiers of assets you've got there: the gold, silver, physical assets, and the actual assets of real estate as well. And the third generally is, a well invested stock and share portfolio. Those three tend to
Yeah.
do pretty well over time, but not always equal. It depends how and when you measure and market situations. But you know, having the gold is like having a little house. Sometimes I say to people, and think of it like that: you're owning an asset, but in this modern world with the fast turnaround requirements of, must triple in 2 weeks' time, or otherwise it's not worth my time. It's just gambling if people are looking for that return. Whereas this is a safe, long-term hedge. That's what I've
It's
been saying
it's
for 10 years.
buying a house, but you don't have to fix the house. You don't have to pay
Yeah,
property
a
tax. You don't
hundred
have
percent.
to
Yeah,
you don't have
all
to
of
keep
these
the
things.
lights on.
You can
You don't
tell
have to
you've been in
fix.
real estate because those are all the things that people don't think about. 100% agree with you.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
didn't. You don't have to fix the roof.
yeah,
And so we also on the IRA, we've negotiated a flat rate because you have to have a third party custodian depository.
yep.
We only do segregated storage.
Okay,
And by the way, I know you're across the pond,
yeah,
but if you ever get a chance to come here, I'd love to take you to our depository. I think your
Oh,
mind,
it's an amazing
it would be
invitation.
a fun. We have one in Delaware and we have one in Texas.
Okay.
And you could kind of see how we do the storage there. But yeah, I mean, also from an affordability, gold in an IRA, very affordable
Yeah.
to store and hold, to obviously own it directly. I think it's one of the most uh, not talked about benefits of gold is the cost of owning gold is so low
Yeah.
compared to other assets. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at the increase in real estate and holding other assets, mutual funds charging 1 to 2% annually. It is a factor that people should be thinking about
Yeah. I agree.
when they're owning it. Is that if you put it in a safe, you could buy two, three, $500 safe, and you could store it for 30 years and have no
Hmm.
real cost there. All of those things factor into your long-term return.
I agree.
And also I think, another thing to think about is these are pieces of our history.
Hmm.
And when I hold up a gold St. Gaudens from 1910 or 1911, and I can think back of what the world was like, or if I hold up a Morgan dollar and I think about the idea that these Morgan dollars were in saloons and Wyatt Earp could have been holding this
Oh,
piece of silver. There's nothing more exciting than that, to go back and think about that, and think about our history, and think about who we are as a country, and what made us great, and really what made us great and what made this a great country. If you really boil it down, when we had gold as money, that's when our country was the best it ever was.
I
And if you
agree.
look at what happened after 1971, you can really say that a lot of the change in our if the middle class and what everyone's going through has a lot to do with us going off this gold standard
Yeah,
and deflating dollar to a place that is obviously terrible for everyone.
for sure.
And there's really no going back. So it's as much as like the genie's out of the
Yeah,
bottle,
there's a
right?
lot of people who think that one day the gold standard will return, and I just don't see that being a viable option in the modern world that we've built around ourselves and
No,
the numbers involved with it. It just wouldn't work. Did you
no,
know here in the UK in the 1960s it was illegal to own gold?
yeah.
You had to apply for a specialist license to own special coins. That was crazy,
Talk
isn't it?
about like keeping people away from
I
wealth,
know. I mean, it's
you
the
know.
same thing with the Treasure Act, isn't it? They knew it was valuable. They don't want us to have it.
Yeah.
But just on the subject of coins and like history, I just wanted to share with you this, which is a real cool little treasure box. It's nothing valuable or precious. It's just a old wooden box that I have. But all
Oh, I
these
love it.
coins just came from my grandfather. Um,
Oh, I
and
love that.
in here there are coins from all over the world that they don't have any precious value to them. They're just currency coins from all around the world. But it's like you were saying about the story of the coins,
Yeah.
like where the coins have been, the different types of coins. I mean, look, we've got square coins, we've got coins with holes in them. There's coins from just every part of the world that he ever travelled to, and he always brought them back. And I would always remember him coming home with these, from his latest trip wherever it was, and giving me a few extra coins or whatever. And I just loved it. And that story's, one I've told a lot, and I think it means a lot to different people. And I treasure that box more than, the value of some of the gold on the table here, because it has that connection for me, that history to
Yeah.
my family, to how I suppose a bit of the world used to be, and that story of where all those coins have been and how they've moved around the world and whose pocket they've been in and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's real,
absolutely.
it's real, like stuff that you can
It's
appreciate.
tangible, it's real, and the thing that always has been, I was in the right, I was in commercial real estate before, I was in the insurance business before, but I knew I was in the right business when I would talk to people after they bought metals from us,
Mm.
and they would say they just felt better when they got that delivery.
Yeah,
They would
100%.
feel better when they did the IRA. There was a feeling that they did the right thing.
Yeah,
Um, and they knew that, from a monetary point of view, maybe there was some argument that other things could be better or they're higher returns, but they did feel safe,
Yeah.
Acquiring gold. And like you said, I mean, nobody can predict the future in terms of the price or where things will go. But I think at the end of the day, there is a comfort there when you own physical metals. And, I do love the idea that, like I said, this coin I bought many years ago and it has that 4,000 value. I don't know. It could be worth double today. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter. I'm
No.
going to put it away. I'm never going to sell it. The only problem that I have is when I bought this, I had one kid. Now I have three kids. So I probably have to
Oh,
buy two.
you've got the same problem I have. Yeah, I know. Because so we've got two, and
Okay.
every time a new coin comes out that I'm like, oh, that's going to be good for the long-term collection. And then I'm like, oh, do I have to buy two now? Because realistically, the long-term collection is their collection going
Yeah.
forwards. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, I get it. And at least I don't have three kids to worry about from
I
that would
know.
be,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're very competitive. And so
I can imagine. Do you talk
yeah.
with your kids much about the coins and gold
Oh,
at this point?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time we get a shipment, it comes to the house, before I send it off and get it put in a safe vault.
Mm.
We talk about it. They know what they own. They
Yeah.
already have um, I've set up some for each
Oh,
kid.
that's good.
They know that it's theirs and they have things that they want.
Yeah.
And so, they have things that they want in the future. They have a wish list of things that they want.
Oh, that's nice.
And, people don't realize there's very few ways to give your child a net worth.
Yeah.
Maybe you start a retirement or this or that, but gold is another great way
Yeah.
to get
100%.
them started on
Yeah.
getting them a net worth
Our
early
little
because
our little boy's just turned 4, and so he doesn't really.
oh,
He's just building that relationship with money now and understanding what
okay.
money is, and it's nice for him to grow with that. But what I'm also doing is I'm using this treasure box of coins with all my grandfather's coins. I'm using that as a way to introduce him to all the different cool things about coins, the different designs that are on coins, and what can he see. And I've got a little like magnifying loop here, which he absolutely loves. If you've got young kids and you want to get them in coins, just get one of these magnifying glasses, because he can sit there and he'll look through and he'll see the whole shebang of the coin, and he loves it. And so that's
awesome.
my goal. And the amount of times he comes into my office and there are coins out on the table because I'm filming a video or something, and he's like, "Oh, Daddy, what are these coins? What are these?" And he's suddenly just picking up a big $20 gold coin in his hands. I'm like, "Oh, just be careful with that one, please." But and he doesn't know, he just doesn't know, of course. But
No.
at some point he will, and it's kind of nice to have that. To have that in the future for him, and that's one thing that makes me feel a bit better as a parent, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, if it was 100 years ago, he would have had those in those. Someone would have had those in their pocket, right? Like, it's funny because now we're like, obviously we don't want to damage or scratch, but like 100 years ago, people were walking around with these coins.
And it's funny because I've also got here in my wallet. I've kept them ever since I went to the US in when was it? It was 2002, 2001. I think I went to the US, and I had just $2 left over, and I kept them in my wallet all this time as a reminder of that trip. But will this still be here in perfect condition in 100 years' time? It's just, it's made of paper or cotton. It's just going to be there. Probably not. They've been in my wallet for 20, 25 years now. They're starting to show a little bit of wear and tear. But
I mean, listen, even if it's around, it's not going to be worth anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they got rid of the penny.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So, the dollar in 50 years, I mean, you won't be able to do anything with that. The value will be so low.
I agree.
But yeah, thanks for letting me talk about this.
Listen, we've talked for a very long time, and it's been a real pleasure to talk. I think we've got some really good, like-minded views here about the world of gold and silver, investing, collecting as well. And I hope that all of you people watching have got something interesting out of this chat, because there is more to the world of gold and silver than just standard bullion, but also there are different avenues by which you can own gold and silver, which I think Colin has really quite, succinctly put into place here about their offerings at Noble Gold. So I would highly recommend people just go and look. And look, this is not a pressurized selling video. We're not doing a sponsorship thing here to say you have to go and check out Noble Gold. But from everything that we've worked together so far to bring this kind of content together, you guys are great. And if people are interested in finding out more, they can do by going to see your website.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got so many more stories. I'm excited to
I know. I want to hear more about these 1933 coins.
Yeah, let's do that. I want to talk about Morgendall. I got 100 different stories. So
yeah,
we'll do this again for sure, because this gives me an excuse to bring all these coins out.
Yeah, well, I know that our UK viewers will really like the American stories, because even though we've got our gold ways and the way that we buy stuff here, the allure of US gold for us UK stackers and collectors is actually a lot higher than people like to admit. We love these coins. They are like quintessential bullion coins and just the history of gold, because of course the US, the king of gold, it just is. We grew up with stories of Fort Knox and all of this, and the gold rush is just incredible. So yeah,
well, the UK used to be the king of gold until they sold it all in 2002.
Yeah, we can thank Gordon Brown for that. Goodness me, that's
man,
yeah, that was not a good decision.
Yeah, but you guys are going to buy it back. I'm sure they're going to buy it more now. But yeah, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to the next time. And yeah, if anybody wants to talk to us about, anything we talked about, as we said, no pressure, but if it's something of interest, give us a call and we'd be happy to help you out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Colin. And you have a great week and weekend ahead of you.